think the point of this is to kind of answer questions, okay? It's to give you our perspective and to answer the questions that you have. So if we seem kind of vague on it, it could be that it's going to come up later in another session. But ask your questions anyway, and we'll do the best we can. Okay? Just to kind of reintroduce ourselves, I'm Beth. I teach chemistry at Auburn High School.
I'm Sonia Renfer. I'm at Rainier Middle School, and I teach PE.
I'm Trina Daniels. I'm at Lee Hill Elementary. I'm the instructional specialist.
Why self-assess? Because it's the law. And hopefully you finished it today. You went through it earlier today, and you were supposed to mark where you felt you were, and hopefully you got through all of it. And so now you're that much farther than all the other teachers that are showing up next week for work. Because they will have to do theirs at some point. And it's just one more thing. If you didn't get it done because you were visiting, which is totally cool, I might want to get it done in the next couple of days, so it'd just be one more thing off your checkoff list to get done. I don't know what was saying.
We said that one thing, I don't know about you, but I think I'm getting the feeling from the three of us, we are probably harder on ourselves. Do you do that when you self-assess, right? You're harder on yourself than other people are. So when I did my self-assessment the first time, I remember marking here, and I remember showing my administrator, and a couple of them, she's like, "Are you out of your mind?" I'm like, "No, you're not way down there. You do this and this." And so, shockingly, the self-assessment process, I've always shared mine, has always been kind of a pat on the back. It's a nice way to start the year with, "Oh yeah, I can do some of these things. This isn't so bad." It's a nice icebreaker kind of between the two of us to get a conversation started. So
It helps the principals see what you might need support with, or what you think you're lacking in. They can help fill that in. I don't see that because this, and give you some of that support, and that, like she said, kind of a little pat on the back.
Yeah, so you should have already maybe marked this, so you have that done.
We're all looking forward to this. Someday we'll get it.
Here's what I can tell you that I do know from the 1 2-hour training that I sat through. For those of you that have been on one of the eval systems, it was difficult to see which indicators you hit unless you went through all of your or your observation notes and started to tally where you hit, in this case, P1 for purpose 1. And I had to do that for all of my staff across the board. This one actually does the tallying for you in a different spot. Doesn't necessarily mean that because it was seen 5 times that you're proficient or distinguished, but it does mean that there's evidence that somebody observed this 5 times. It also is a nice spot to give you reference. What should I pay attention to, or what do I need to ask my administrator to come see? That next observation round, or as Shauna mentioned quite a few times, in those 10-minute sessions, or hey, could you come at X time because this is a follow-up.
One thing I want to kind of interject is these binders. I found them very valuable, that I have it at my fingertips at school. A lot of times I go to things and they give me this really cool binder, and then I go home and I'm like, "Oh, that was great." Put that away, and I don't ever see it until I'm like, "Oh, I remember that 10 years ago." This particular binder, I think, will be very helpful. And as you get things, you might want to stick it into your binder. I finally, because I've been doing the training for so many years, every year they put something new in there. So of course I want to take it and then stick it in my binder so that I have all the different paper, all the paper that everybody else has too. And I keep my evaluations from year to year in my binder so I can refer to them. Because I'm still kind of a paper person, and so I take important documents and run them off and stick them in my binder. Questions?
Two.
Good.
First one, on the self-assessment, and you said, kind of pat yourself on the back a little bit, but are you looking for the positives, or are you looking for the things that you think might be deficiencies of your own? All right, fair enough.
I think what she was saying is, and I'm the same way as she is that you might judge yourself lower than how people view you. And I know students are like that when they judge themselves. They're always harsher than I am of them. And she was kind of commenting that when she came in with her paper that the administrator said, "What? You're not, face it, you're actually here." That's how I perceive where you would be.
Evaluation, that you can use that self-assessment to help you maybe determine where you want your focus evaluation to be.
Which would be next year,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
would be next year, yeah.
And I would say that from staff who've done their self-evaluation, some of them have actually found a lot of stress relief because if they've evaluated themselves and say, gosh, I really am proficient or distinguished in these areas, I really only need to be concerned about maybe 5 things where I feel like I should grow more. And so they kind of put those other things on the back burner because it's very natural and it just occurs for them. So and I don't want to say, it kind of depends on if you're a half glass empty or a half glass full kind of a person, which perspective it takes, but I think there is a sense of, I don't have to worry about all of that stuff.
Conversations during the year. Shauna and Heidi have mentioned it a ton of times. This really truly is about conversations with your administrator. Opening up lines of conversation, having them anytime, and just having a really good back and forth conversation with them. So,
And you're also working as a team, so I know that those people who are first year teachers are like, it's us against them, because I can get that, when I was in my first year, I just wanted to kind of stay under the radar, and if they said do this, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I'm still that way to some degree, but on the old evaluation, it just was, they sat on one side of the table and I sat on the other, and they told me all these things that I did. I didn't really feel like I had much input other than the conversation the lessons that they had seen. But I've been on this now since it started, and I like it a lot better because we're sitting together instead of across the way. We might be sitting next to each other and talking about my student growth, and it's just a totally different feeling. So if your administrator says, well, I never saw any of your, I didn't see this particular thing, and you say, well, yeah, I did that, I did it here and here and here, and they go, oh, okay, and so you're working together for the common good, not them against you, and I can't just stress that enough, that is a totally different feeling, and I really like it because I feel like we're all in the same game together, working towards student achievement.
That's a really good chance for them to get to know you better too. Just sitting down, having those informal conversations around your evaluation, and they get to know you as a person, and you get to know them and what their expectations are, and it's just intended to help you be a better teacher. So
I would also say these are ideas of kind of almost more formal conversations. Conversations with the principal, though, can take place anywhere. I remember having conversations during passing periods. They're walking by and I'll be like, hey, guess what I'm doing? And I'd bring her in and show her something really cool. And then later she'd be doing the evaluation part of it, and she'll say she didn't see this or that. I'm like, remember, we talked about it. It was during passing period. And so far, I've had 2 different administrators on this plan, and both of them have been like, oh yeah, that was great. So it doesn't have to be super formalized. Any little chat you have with them can count as evidence too, so that's kind of nice.
And sometimes you're not going to the administrator's office to have these conversations. For example, my principal said one year, I don't know how much parent communication you're doing, and I said, well, it's on my computer because I save all of that communication, and I have a book that when I make phone calls, I document and everything. Would you like to come on down and see that documentation? And he said, oh, no, I believe you. And I said, well, okay, it's available to you if you'd like to see it. So you might want to, if you make a phone call, jot it down somewhere or put it in the computer somewhere, just so that you can say, these are the things that I've done, especially if you're wanting to be distinguished and they're saying that you're proficient, then you have some documentation to show them, saying this is all the things, and of course they have lots of people they evaluate, so they might say, wow, yeah, you certainly do way more than the average person does.
Also sit up your post-evaluation or your post-meeting is also a good time to say, you know, here, you didn't see this before you came, this is what happened before you came in, or this is what happened after you left. You can fill in the gaps. If there's some things that you had done as in part of your lesson, but they had to leave before they saw that, you can fill in those kinds of gaps too, and they can code those things.
I'm not gonna say it's never gonna happen, but I will say that in my experience and with my friends that have been through this, I've never felt the principal is gonna do the gotcha game with you, right? Like when she said, yeah, no, I believe you, you've got the binder. I think that they assume the best intentions for the most part. Is that 100%? No. For the most part, they're on our side, right? Because technically, I think they have to do more work, right? If you put us on basic, or don't you guys have to do more work? We don't want to do that, right? We want to do, they want us to do well, and I think that the conversations allow us to work together to see that that happens.
In passing, I just tried this and it totally blew up. Because it's just like any one of your teaching partners or colleagues, we might make a small suggestion and we might just be able to listen so that whenever we have another conversation, I can hear, what did you do? And those conversations together are also evidence of the things that you're doing. And I think that that's a really big piece with this. It's no longer what I have physically been in that classroom for 30 minutes or 60 minutes to see myself, but it really is about that other stuff that we all do up in our heads to adjust that I can't physically see.
And they'll say things like, well, I was wondering, and that was one thing I noticed a lot, that the word wonder came into the questions. I was wondering why you might have done this rather than this, and those are good think questions that, yeah, why did I choose to do it this way rather than that way? They're not judging you, they're just had a few questions, and so they term it as, I wonder, ...
It's very non-threatening that way.
You may also see I noticed as well, fill in the blank and try really hard.
Because it's not evaluative, as you guys did the observation earlier, and there's just a difference in language.
There you go.
So last year, in your binders, there was paper that looked like this, and I was looking through, and it still is in our PowerPoint, to do this, and I asked Ryan about it. He said, well, the state changed some language, and so they haven't published the new one for this year yet, but he said, still go over it. So you have nothing hard to write on or look at, but you will be getting one, and what I would do, and I would guess they're gonna do it at a booster session, don't just file it, okay? Because there are some dates that are in here. There are dates that are in here that are set up to protect us, okay? And you want to take advantage of those dates. So things like, Shauna was asking how long. You have 8 days. They don't get to observe you, and then you just sit there in limbo. How did I do? No. They have to respond. Okay, they have 8 days. So things like that are in here. The dates, like, they have to observe you before December 31st, which is kind of weird to say, considering we'll all be on break. But you kind of get it, right? Before we go on break, they have to have observed you at least once, and then after break, they have to have observed you. So those dates are here. Those are important to know. They have to give you your expectations, and you should know what your evaluation. You are all doing comprehensive, but when you get to the point, you need to know that kind of thing by October 1st. So when you get this, which, like I said, I assume will be at one of the booster sessions, keep it, and maybe I highlighted the dates. I'm a calendar-driven person, so I want dates. Probably the most important date of the year is May 15th, right? You have to have your evaluate done by May 15th.
It has to be signed and final copy in your hand by the end of your contract day on the 15th. I will say, from time to time, given individual people's circumstances, if you and your administrator have worked something out, because we've had people on maternity leave, well, they come back after that date or those sorts of things, there are a couple very minimal exceptions. So you also should be mindful of that if you haven't heard from your administrator. Don't always wait for us, because sometimes we need that extra reminder and push. I would say there's one other really important date you guys want, which is the January 30th date for your mid-year evaluation feedback. Okay, that's one that you really should be paying attention to, because right at that point you should know really where you're standing. And I can't imagine that there's anybody out there who didn't get it on time. I'm sure that it has happened. But that's one for you guys to really pay attention to and make sure that you get. And it's a good way to shape your observation for the spring around what it is that you think still needs to be seen because you disagree with your mid-year feedback, or because there wasn't any marking because they hadn't yet seen any evidence. I would say, and I can speak for my building, and I believe the majority of all of the administrators have somebody that puts things on their calendars. I highly, highly recommend you get put on the administrator's calendar when it works for you. And I say that because I'm happy to do a conversation with anybody at any time. And so it doesn't matter to me when we talk. And I know that, and I can say Sonia and I, we've done some evals together. She's really busy. She's also our athletic director. So she gets on my calendar when it works best for her, because I get to do it anytime. And she's an early bird. She likes to get on there early, which actually helps me out. So if you don't want to wait, or you know that, gosh, May 1st is my perfect day because my hair always looks good and I always have the great outfit, or whatever it is, get on that calendar fast and early and for whatever time of the day that you want.
Even though they
I'm hearing a balanced approach between me going to my administrator and getting put on the calendar, but also me really not having to worry about it too much, because they should also be making sure it gets taken care of. So when I start school year, and I guess I'm bouncing this idea off you, I'm planning on talking about it, like, yeah, so-and-so, I'm open to, getting observed. I'm okay with that, and maybe a couple months from now finding a date that works, maybe going a little proactive. I don't really have to worry about the pre-inquiry, them coming out observing me, the post-conference, because they take care of that, right?
So at our school, they'll send an email out and say, hey, please check in with the secretary and make some dates. We want you to make a date for pre-observation, for the observation, and then whatever they tell us. They usually list it. And so I just contact the secretary. Now, there are teachers out there, I know this will surprise you, that say, well, if I wait long enough, maybe they just won't ever get to me. And so unfortunately, that throws work on the administrator, who has to sit there and figure out who hasn't done it, and then reapproach them, with another email or a third email or a fourth email. And so hopefully, you're gonna work, I know you will, but, if people would just go in and sign up whenever they feel comfortable and then kind of start the process, it goes a lot smoother from an administrator's perspective. Yeah, I'm not an administrator, but I always try to look at it from all different angles. Being the athletic director, sometimes I have to approach my coaches 20 times. I mean, can you imagine the time that's wasted on my part because they won't turn in a piece of paper? So kind of, if you just work together is the common thing.
And what a great, what's the word I'm looking for? You're all brand new to them, right? And you start the process. What does that say? Yeah, first impression, right. I mean, you're building up your status with them by doing that. You want to impress them, right? When I was a new teacher, I definitely wanted to impress them. You're a brand new, fresh start, and that's for everybody, first year teacher or not, right? New to the building, so.
all buildings are different and how they handle it as well. I just got an Outlook invite from my secretary today for my first meeting. So some secretaries schedule that for their administrators as well. So don't be surprised if you get an Outlook invite from your secretary saying, here's your planning meeting or your goal meeting or whatever they want to call it. that might be handled that way in your building.
And if you can't make it, then you just say, hey, I'd love to have it, but I just can't do it on that day.
Yeah.
They'll change the day
Yeah.
for you.
I can say in my building, myself and my building principal, we do things differently for sure. He's very much more open and he says, let me know when you want me to be there. And I don't enjoy doing an entire week of 25 observation evaluation write-ups. So I've split my evaluations into groups of 5 and I say to these teachers, I'm going to come observe you. This week, tell me what you want. If I don't hear from you, I'll send it a second time, and then I schedule it. And I actually give my staff, I've already identified which weeks for each group, because I'm a little bit like that. And they can schedule them out for the entire year if they want to. But if I haven't heard by like 2 weeks prior to that week, I actually have my secretary send it to them and